Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang dihormati sekalian. Pertama-tamanya saya mengucapkan syukur kehadrat Ilahi atas keizinan untuk menyertai tuan-tuan dan puan-puan pada pagi yang mulia ini. Pada kesempatan ini, saya terlebih dahulu mengucapkan setinggi-tinggi penghargaan kepada panel pembentang pada hari ini iaitu Profesor Dr. Andy Liu Teck Koy, Vice Chancellor HAP University yang juga merupakan pengerusi panel pembangun garis panduan amalan baik APEL-A dan juga APEL.M. Saya juga mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang meluangkan masa sebagai pihak berkepentingan untuk mendapatkan maklumat berkaitan garis panduan ini. Okay, next. Okey. Saya juga untuk maklumat berikut adalah agenda kita pada hari ini. Okey, kita akan mulakan sesi webinar dengan ucapan alu-aluan. Seterusnya, sesi webinar diteruskan dengan taklimat bagi kajian semula GGP, APEL-A dan juga APEL.M oleh Profesor Dr. Andy. Dan seterusnya, sesi akan bersambung ke sesi Q&A dan akan ditamatkan insya-Allah pada jam 12.30 hari ini. Seterusnya, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, bagi sesi soal-jawab, pihak urus setia memohon supaya soalan dapat dimajukan melalui ruangan Q&A dalam aplikasi Zoom ini. Dan soalan ini akan dibaca pada sesi akhir nanti sebelum kita tamat webinar pada hari ini. Sekiranya ada yang ingin bertanya terus, tak ada masalah, mohon jasa baik untuk klik raise hand dan urus setia akan memberi laluan kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan pada sesi akhir nanti untuk mengutarakan sepanjang persoalan daripada pihak tuan-tuan. Baiklah, seperti yang pihak tuan-puan sedia maklum, MQA telah mengeluarkan surat perkeliling bilangan 1/2013 bertarikh 17 Mac 2023 berkenaan garis panduan amalan baik APEL-A dan juga APEL-M ini. Okey, maaf, perkeliling MQA bilangan 1/2023 bertarikh 17 hari bulan Januari 2023 yang boleh dilayari di laman web MQA www.mqa.gov.my. Untuk makluman tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, MQA telah membangunkan dokumen ini dengan beberapa tujuan selain menyokong pembelajaran sepanjang hayat. Antaranya menilai semula dan menambah baik dasar dan juga mekanisme penilaian yang telah ditetapkan agar sejajar dengan MQF edisi kedua dan juga keperluan pendidikan tinggi semasa, menambah baik dasar dan juga mekanisme penilaian yang sedia ada berdasarkan maklum balas pihak berkepentingan, menyediakan panduan yang komprehensif kepada semua pihak yang terlibat dalam menjalankan dan melalui proses penilaian APEL-A dan juga APEL-M, membangunkan dasar dan menyediakan panduan yang komprehensif kepada PPT bagi tujuan pelaksanaan penilaian APEL-M kepada pelajar makroprudensial. Sedia maklum, garis pandu amalan baik ini boleh dilayari di laman web www.mqa.gov.my. Okay, next slide. Okay, ini adalah dokumen yang boleh didapati di pautan mqa.gov.my di dalam dokumen jaminan kualiti dan melalui tab berkenaan dengan garis panduan amalan baik. Seterusnya, sebelum saya menyerahkan sesi webinar ini kepada panel jemputan kita pada hari ini, izinkan saya memperkenalkan secara ringkas latar belakang mengenai pembentang webinar pada hari ini. Profesor Dr. Andy Liu Teck Koy adalah pengerusi panel GGP ini yang juga merangkap naik Chancellor di Universiti HAP bermula 1 Jun 2023. Tahniah Prof. Okay. Beliau pernah memegang jawatan pentadbiran kanan di pelbagai institusi pendidikan tinggi, konvensional dan terbuka di Malaysia. Sejajar dengan itu, Prof. Andy juga telah bekerjasama rapat dengan MQA, memang nama yang tidak asing lagi di persada APEL ini, dan juga dengan MQA untuk melahirkan keluarga besar APEL bermula daripada APEL-A, APEL-C, APEL-Q dan juga yang terkini adalah APEL-M. Beliau adalah pengerusi panel pembangun yang mengembangkan GGP untuk APEL-C dan APEL-Q serta untuk APEL-A dan M dan juga kod amalan akreditasi program melalui program ODL, Online Distance Learning. Melalui penglibatan dan juga di pelbagai organisasi dan kerjasama di peringkat antarabangsa, beliau telah membina rangkaian yang luas dengan rakan dan institusi terkenal seperti Open Distance Learning di seluruh Asia, Commonwealth Pembelajaran, Majlis Antarabangsa untuk Pendidikan Terbuka dan Jarak Jauh UNESCO Bangkok. Beliau merupakan Ketua Setiausaha Persatuan Universiti Terbuka Asia bermula 2011 hingga 2012 dengan lebih daripada 60 anggota universiti dan institusi terbuka di seluruh Asia. Dengan minat, dengan passion dan pelibatan ketika ini meliputi transformasi digital, institusi pendidikan tinggi, jaminan kualiti pembelajaran dalam talian, akreditasi pembelajaran pengalaman terdahulu dan juga pengurusan perubahan. Baiklah, tanpa melengahkan masa, saya pasti ramai PPT pun keep on going. Sekarang ni kita ada 410. Tanpa melengahkan masa, bagi menjelaskan maklumat lanjut berkenaan garis pandu ini, saya mempersilakan Profesor Dr. Andy Liu Tek Koi untuk membentangkan kajian semula garis panduan amalan baik APEL-A dan juga APEL-M. Dipersilakan Prof, the screen is yours.
Alright, thank you so much pengacara majlis Puan Awani atas your generous introductory remark dan juga of course not forgetting your madah-madah manis yang mengisi jiwa saya di pagi ini. And salam pagi dan salam sejahtera rakan-rakan seperjuangan dari segala pelosok Malaysia and of course rakan-rakan di MQA. Terlebih dahulu saya ingin memohon keizinan majlis untuk mengendalikan sesi ini dalam adunan bahasa Malaysia dan bahasa Inggeris. It is definitely an incredible honor to be here again this morning to share the in Malay language they would say the asam garam, the experience that we have gone through the development or enhancement of this particular guidelines of good practices. As you can view the earlier slides that Puan Awani mentioned, this is actually an enhanced version of the GGP APEL-A. So when the group, a group of the panel members, some of the panel members are here this morning, very unfortunate we were not able to have this in on-site in-person mode. When the group was actually convened to revisit or to enhance the relevant areas of GGP, we actually seek a lot of input from various stakeholders, from internal as well as external stakeholders, local as well as international. And it has gone through lots of deliberations by the MQA Council as well as by the ahli panel penilai under MQA. So this was actually launched recently in January 2023, if my memory serves me right. And we have had quite a number of engagement sessions to brief and to enlighten colleagues from all over the higher education institutions in Malaysia on the aspects of the GGP APEL-A and APEL.M, the new installment into the APEL family. And seperti biasa telah menjadi lumrah hidup saya bagi mencetus impuls dalam dunia pemikiran kita, izinkan saya suntik serangkap pantun untuk merangsang minda kita masing-masing. Terpisah jarak dan tempat, bertemu kita di pesada maya. APEL dikenang sepanjang hayat, GGP APEL mencipta budaya. So that is the so-called a very brief introductory remark to engage with you, and very unfortunate because of the masses that we have here, the rights to switch on your mic would be controlled by Puan Awani. If there are any questions at any point of time that you would like to interject, feel free to raise your hands using the functionality here, and Puan Awani will be able to assist in the Q&A session. Now, as what Puan Awani mentioned, when the panel congregates in, if my memory serves me right, it was in 2020 or sometime late 2020. Our objective then was to review the existing APEL-A. As we all understand, the first child in the family of APEL was A. A actually came into existence in 2011. So if you look at the timeline right now, it's almost past 1 decade. And because of the philosophy of continuous quality improvement, we need to look at what are the areas that we need to inject fresh life, fresh blood into the APEL-A. And this is basically where we look at opening the doors to, for example, international students for APEL-A, which in 2011, APEL-A does not allow international students to be admitted via the APEL-A. And just in case some of you may be new to this APEL world, the A here actually indicates access, all right? Accreditation of prior experiential learning for access. Then, of course, the other aspect that we look at was the introduction of APEL.M. Now, there have been many questions or many ambiguity that revolve around the higher education provider. Some thought that APEL.M is completely different from ACQ. My apologies, colleagues. I think there was some interruption in the Wi-Fi line here in MMU. Now back to this APEL.M, I was trying to explain that APEL.M is actually an offshoot of APEL.A. The M here is actually an indication of the A catering to micro-credential learners. So that is actually the difference between, or rather, the reason why APEL-M came about. So APEL-M is actually to cater for those who have gathered X number of credits through micro-credential, and now they decide to enter the higher education qualification, where they don't have any formal qualification. This is where the institution will assess their readiness and also to ensure the fulfillment of the entry requirements. This group of learners who have acquired the micro-credentials or who have acquired credits through the unbundling of micro-credential will be admitted into the program using the APEL.M instrument. So if you were to ask me, Andy, is there any difference between the A and the M? I would tell you the only difference is the instrument that used to measure their readiness for admission into the program. So in short, A and M are actually similar in nature, which means they are actually looking at evaluating the readiness of the learners to enter a tertiary study. So that is actually APEL.M. Now, moving forward here, just to bring us back to the drawing board. Now, as I mentioned just now, the first APEL came about in 2011. As you can see in this particular slide, you have the whole big family of APEL where you have your A in 2011, you have your C, and C here is actually indicating or a abbreviation for credit transfer. So which means if I enter a particular degree program be it through APEL-A, or I enter a program through the formal qualification track, I can still apply for credit transfer in courses of the related programs I'm undertaking. So this can go up to 30% total credit limit of the program. So that is what APEL-C is all about in a nutshell. Then of course came the so-called the game changer in higher education, when we look at APEL.Q in 2021. And incidentally, you realize there is actually a 5-year gap period from 11 to 16 to 21, which were not planned for. I think this is the work, the hands of the divine one working on us. So every 5 years here, you see there is a introduction of a new APEL family or APEL siblings or individuals to the APEL family. So the APEL-Q is more pervasive in the sense that we recognize the prior learning of the candidates, and these candidates that we are looking at in APEL-Q are not people who are working in the industry for 1 or 2 years, but they have been in the industry for many, many, many years. For example, in APEL-Q, for a doctorate level program with APEL-Q, the candidate must have at least 25 years of working experience in the related field. So can you imagine these people that we are assessing under APEL-Q it could be C-suite people, it could be senior executive, it could be senior managers with a wealth of experience. So that is exactly what APEL-Q is about. So in 2021, that was introduced. Then come 2 years later, where we announced the revision or the enhancement aspect of APEL. And that is where the APEL-M catalog, because the micro-credential GGP, if my memory serves me right again, was launched by MQA in August 2020. So they said in recognizing the flexible learning through micro-credential, we must also find a pathway for people who have acquired bite-sized learning through micro-credential for their learning to be recognized as a fulfillment of the entry requirement. And this is where APEL.M came about in 2022. And of course, in 2022, the APEL-A review were attached together with the APEL.M introduction. So this is basically the whole family of APEL in Malaysia. And of course, if we were to go to different countries, different regions, they may not be using APEL. Certain part of the world, they may call it RPL. For example, in Australia, under their qualifications framework, they call it recognition of prior learning. In Indonesia, they call it prior learning without the word recognition. And of course, in United States or America, instead of calling it RPL, APEL, they have this special terminology, PLA, prior learning assessment recognition. So no matter which part of the world that we will go, there will always be this recognition of this prior learning, and how extensive it is of different intensity. Again, they will vary from regions to region, country to countries. So coming back to this sharing session on the review of APEL-A, of course, there will be 2 sections that I would like to share with colleagues who are here. There are almost 500 of you in this platform. There are 2 primary sections that we're looking at. The first one definitely is what exactly was embedded in the APEL.A review exercise. What is it that we have enhanced? What is it that we have changed? What is it that we have introduced, where the previous APEL-A that was in 2011 did not cater for. And as you can see, there are 4 points here. Number one, it is the inclusion of international applicants. Way back in 2011, the Ministry of Higher Education back then was saying, we want to make sure this special privilege is given to local, to Malaysians. That is why at that point of time, we did not open up this privilege to international applicants. And after a decade, then we are now saying we are ready with all the mechanism. We have gone through the all the learning curves, and we think and are ready for accepting international applicants through APEL.A. So that is one of the aspects that have been enhanced or introduced in the review exercise. And of course, the other aspect is the introduction of APEL.A, or allowing APEL.A for doctorate level and master level for fully research-based program. For those of you who are very familiar with APEL.A, you would realize at that point of time, when we introduced APEL.A in 2011, it was only meant for a bachelor degree. 2011 was bachelor degree APEL.A, then 2012 was certificate and diploma, 2014 was the APEL.A master degree level. So what happened back then is that we stopped, we as in MQA stopped at the master level in 2014. However, there is already a policy approved at the Ministry and MQA Council for admission into APEL.A, for admission into certificate qualification right up to the doctorate level. The policies are already there, meaning the age limit, the so-called related qualifications that are needed if it is at a higher level have been endorsed in 2011. So 2021, or rather in 2021, where the group, the panel met, then they will say it's time for us to open the doors for APEL.A at the doctorate level. And of course, the earlier APEL.A approval doesn't cater for master for fully research-based program. And if all of you are familiar with the postgraduate setup in Malaysia, in postgraduate programs, there are actually 3 modes. You have fully coursework-based, you have mixed mode. The earlier master for APEL.A only focuses on coursework and mixed mode program, not on fully research-based program. And this is why right now we are looking at the introduction of these 2. And of course, apart from this doctorate and master fully research-based, we are also bringing in the other level of qualifications specified in the MQF. One of which is the advanced diploma level entry. And of course, under the bachelor degree T6, you have your graduate certificate, your graduate diploma have also been brought in. Under the master level, again, you have your postgraduate certificate, postgraduate diploma have also been brought in. So basically, these are under number 2. All right. Then number 3 here, as you can see, is the rubrics. For those of you who have been involved in the assessment of the portfolio, whether it is at the bachelor or master level, you will realize that the rubric that was established back then were packed to MQF first edition, where they have the 8 domains. Right now, we are looking at the MQF second edition, where they have the 5 classes of learning outcomes. So these are the changes that we have made to the portfolio assessment rubric so that it is in line with the national practice. And of course, the last part, when we look at the revision or review exercise of APEL-A is definitely APEL.M. And that is why, right from the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, I categorically mentioned that the APEL.M is actually an offshoot of APEL.M, APEL.A. It's just that M here are catering for admission into the program for candidates who have collected at least 50% of the total credits of a program of study via micro-credential, right? I hope at this point of time, you'll be able to see the overarching framework in the review exercise of APEL-A. So in the next few slides, we will go through the so-called, perhaps a level deeper to know or to understand the details that are embedded in number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 here. So if you have any questions along the way, you can start posting the questions in the Q&A chat function. We will definitely try our level best to clear any ambiguity that you have. Now, here are 3 documents that have been created by MQA since 2010. The furthest left is actually a guideline that was created by a group of us again in 2010 with MQA that specifies the philosophy and the principles underlining APEL. That means accreditation of prior experiential learning. Of course, at that point of time, the focus was actually on A. The C and the Q did not come into the picture in 2010. And you will see there is a handbook here in the center of the slide that I have shared. It's a handbook that have been reviewed, and it is the 2nd edition of 2020. So technically, when you see a 2nd edition of 2020, meaning there would be earlier versions. As I mentioned just now, in 2012 and in 2014, where they introduced a certificate diploma in 2012, and in 2014, where they introduced the master level, we have created 2 handbooks. 2 handbooks, one for certificate and diploma in 2012, one handbook for master level in 2014. So what they did, MQA, was to consolidate these 2 handbooks, now the learner's handbook, into one in 2020. So there is no confusion among the learners as to where do I get the master learner's handbook, where do I get the diploma's learner's handbook, or where do I get the bachelor degrees learner's handbook. So everything that a learner needs to know is in this 2020 handbook. And of course, following the learner's handbook, MQA also has created what they call the guideline for assessment of APEL-A. This primarily came into existence to assist particularly the APEL Assessment Center. Those institutions who have expressed their interest saying, I would like to be one of the APEL Assessment Center in Malaysia representing MQA, which the acronym is Pusat Penilaian APEL, PPA, Pusat Penilaian APEL. And if you look at this particular guide, it spells out everything from the forms that you need to complete, to be submitted, from the procedures of assessment up to the procedure of deliberating the results, approving the results by the highest academic body in this institution. So because there are too many of those documents around, the group that met in 2020, 2019 have worked very closely with MQA to say it is time that we consolidate this into one so-called guideline. And this is where the GGP, the guidelines to good practices on APEL-A and APEL.M, were crafted and developed and endorsed and published in 2021. And I hope all of you have gotten this particular handbook or this particular GGP that is readily available in MQA website. Now, MQA now has a very comprehensive website that it has everything that you need to know about the standards and criteria and what are the good practices under the purview of MQA. So this technical document is easily accessible through the MQA website. As you can see here, there are 8 chapters under the GGP, the revised GGP. And of course, our focus today would be more on the chapter 4 and of course the chapter 5. Those will be our focus. The rest are quite fairly standard. And the admission criteria, as you can see in the chapter 4, is actually tagged to the policies, as you all would agree with me that policies will drive, the policies in fact will drive all the processes and procedures, regardless of the area and domains that we are looking at. So we will go through very quickly all the various chapters. I would probably leave some of those to you to actually look at those information embedded at your own time when you are available, when you are convenient. The first chapter, of course, is the standard one, looking at the definition, the purpose, and as you all know, a GGP purpose is actually to enlighten or to inform all stakeholders. And these stakeholders are actually primarily would be the higher education provider, the professional bodies, on what is actually the established practices in relation to APEL.A and APEL.M. And this is to make sure all of us are aligned on the same platform when we talk about executing APEL.A and APEL.M. And the scope of this GGP is definitely on the access, on the admission part. And it will not dwell onto the credit transfer, the qualification, or even into the rolling out of the micro credentials. And the benefits are immense. As you can see, it covers the students, the learners, the higher education providers, the employers, and of course, generally the rakyat, the nation. Now, this is what I think I owe it to you to probably run through this very quickly with you on the related policies of A and M. Now, as you can see, we have highlighted some text in red. This is to indicate these are the new addition to the APEL.A policies. Number one, we have opened up the doors for international students. And the age is still the same based on the policy that were approved in 2010, where for certificate level, it must be 18 years, then diploma will be 19, then the degree will be 21, and so on and so forth. And the formal qualifications, of course, if you remember, we did mention that for APEL.A, we do not need any formal qualification for the certificate level, for the diploma, for the bachelor degree. However, those of you who are involved in the Master APEL.A, you are well informed that there is a minimum formal qualification to undertake a master degree qualification, which is actually STPM or equivalent. So the formal qualification of STPM or equivalent could be A-level, international baccalaureate, diploma, matriculation, and the whole other equivalent qualifications to A-levels or STPM. And of course, the formal qualification, you may ask, Andy, what is exactly required of the candidates when they want to pursue APEL.A? The answer is very simple. The person must have at least a bachelor degree qualification. And for your information, there is another clause that tagged to it. You must have the bachelor degree qualifications and the experiential learning of 5 years. So which means you look at D here, in part D, the only qualification level that dictates the number of years that a candidate must have in terms of working experience is only at the doctorate level. All other level, they are silent on the years of prior experiential learning experience. Meaning, if you are pursuing a certificate level degree program to be admitted via APEL.A, they did not say you must have 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years working experience. They are silent on that. The only qualification level that specifically mentioned the number of years, minimum number of years of experience actually at the doctorate level, and this is 5 years. So here, I would like to draw your attention that the 5 years of working experience have to be tagged closely with the bachelor degree qualification at the doctorate level for admission purposes. We'll come to that shortly. And of course, the other policies that we look at is definitely related to APEL.M. Now, as you can see here under item 2A, it clearly states that the candidates intending to be admitted into a program, I will always use the term admitted, admission, access into the program, the A, that candidate must have completed at least 50% of the total credits of the program. For example, you have a bachelor degree program with 120 credits. And because of the flexibility given to all higher education institutions to offer micro-credentials where you unbundle the program into bite-sized courses. So when I approach your university or your institution, for example, where you offer micro-credentials from, let's say, a program of Bachelor of Management. So I actually register for individual courses in the program, and I did not say I want to commit to a degree program. I'm actually registering for individual courses for upskilling, reskilling, where I can actually acquire those competencies and apply directly to my work day-to-day, on a day-to-day operations. So through that, when I have accumulated at least 50% of the total credits from the 120, I can then knock at the door of the institution and say, sir, madam, now I'm ready to register for the program of study. Then I would tell you, sir, madam, unfortunately, I don't have any formal qualification to be admitted into a bachelor degree program, meaning I don't have SPM, I don't have STPM, I don't have PM round, I have nothing at all. Then you will say, it's all right, Andy, we have this track known as APEL.M. So this is where you would assess all my prior learning, inclusive of the micro-credentials that I've taken under your institution, and also micro-credentials that I've taken from other institutions. So in short, what I'm trying to tell you here, as long as the candidates completed 50% of the total credits of the program, they can be admitted, they can be considered rather for admission through APEL.M. All right, I hope you're clear on this particular aspect. And apart from that, as you know, right from the beginning, I have kept on emphasizing that M is actually an offshoot of A. Therefore, item 2B and 2C would have to be tied to APEL.A policies. All right. So very quickly now, we run through all the 8 MQF level to look at what was actually amended, what was actually enhanced at the different various level of qualifications. The first one, doctorate, and as you can see, the 35 years of age is the year of the application, need not be 1st January of that year. It can be any, it can be at the end of the year. You are already 35 years, pun boleh, your birth date is actually in December. You can also apply in this year, let's say 2023, if you have hit the 35 years of age in the year of application. Now, part 2, part 2, I have been emphasizing this just now when we talk about those enhancement thing that has been injected into the review exercise. Now, you realize here, there are some explanatory notes behind the bachelor degree or equivalent qualification here. You will realize behind this bachelor degree or equivalent qualifications, there are these explanatory notes indicating or telling us that those with higher qualifications like postgraduate certificate or postgraduate diploma can be considered as an equivalent qualification to bachelor degree, because it is much higher than bachelor degree. So then the rest are the same as what I've explained. Then at the postgraduate level, again, the red text that you see here indicates the review or the enhancement aspect, where you look at fully research-based, where we have introduced postgraduate diploma, postgraduate certificate. And I believe not many institutions in Malaysia have postgraduate diploma or postgraduate certificate qualifications as one of the range of programs that they have in the institution. But if you do have, you can admit students via APEL.A through the instrument used for level 7. All right. Then at the MQF level 6, again, the earlier 6 only focus on bachelor. And we know at the MQF level 6, you have a whole suite of other qualification, which is actually the graduate diploma and the graduate certificate. And this is where, if you have graduate diploma programs, graduate certificate programs that you want to admit students without formal learning, they will go through the level 6 instrument. Then again, you have instruments on assessing those who intend or to aspire to pursue a diploma qualifications. That particular instruments are also applicable for students intending to go into the advanced diploma program. Certificate, there are no changes, status quo in respect to the procedure and processes here. Now again, the fulfillment of the admission criteria via APEL.M is definitely guided by the policies that we have mentioned just now. If you realize in between the A and the B, there is this thing known as N. The N here is actually an indication saying you must meet those 2 requirements before a student can apply for admission through APEL.M. All right, I hope you are clear. Then the C here is actually at the exit level. At the exit level, whoever that we are admitting the students through APEL.M, they must not graduate at an age below the normal level of graduation. If we look at the guidelines to good practices of micro-credential, for example, I can't quite remember the figure. Let us take, for example, if I were to be admitted through APEL.A for a master level degree program full-time, at the point of my graduation, I must be at least 32 years of age. I must be at least 31 years of age. Because for admission into a master degree program via APEL.A, I must be at least 30 years of age. So plus 1 year, meaning plus 1 year of the duration of studies through a full-time master degree program I will complete in at the minimum age of 31 years of age. So if anybody were to come through the APEL.M, the graduation age must not be below 31 years old. That is what Part C is trying to explain here. All right, so whoever that is monitoring the graduation in the university, most likely will be the registry together with the faculties. Make sure this stipulation is complied. All right. However, there will always be this provision stating for truly exceptional cases, the Senate of the university has the power to grant students to graduate at the age below the normal graduation age. There is such a provision, but of course, we will always advise the institution to exercise this autonomy prudently. All right. So this is on the fulfillment of admission criteria via APEL.M. And of course, if you look at the chapter on the assessment instruments, you have a range of subtopics here, the weightages, the competencies, the kind of instruments that are adopted. So perhaps this particular chart or table amalgamates all the different aspects under here. All right. Now, as you can see in this table 1, you can also view this table 1 in the GGP. If you have downloaded this GGP, the recent GGP in MQA website, I would urge you to look carefully at the furthest left column first. Furthest left column. On the furthest left column, you will realize there are 4 major assessment instruments, 4 major ones. The aptitude test, the portfolio, the research intent and presentation, and interview. And the research intent and presentation is something new that we have introduced into the APEL-A review exercise. And I would like you rather, to look at where research intent and presentation will be applicable to. If we look at the furthest block, the T8 doctorate, every mode of study under the doctorate level will be subjected to this research intent and presentation. And at the master level, it is only on the fully research-based track, not on the other track that you can see, which is coursework at mixed mode. You don't have research intent and presentation. And of course, also be mindful that the aptitude test, which comprises only objective questions, only at the T3, T4, T5, and T6 level. T3, 4, 5, 6, you have objective questions cut across the aptitude test instruments. And T7, you have a mixture of aptitude as well. You have a mixture of objective questions. As you can see here, 40% here, you have a mixture of objective and structured questions. Then portfolio will only be applicable for 70 and 40% under T6 and T7. And definitely, if you have been a APEL Assessment Center since 2011, you will realize there are changes in the distribution of the weightages here. Definitely, there are changes here. So please take note, those of you who are in the approved institution list to be the Pusat Penilaian APEL, whatever that you adopted previously are completely different in terms of weightages here. And I believe MQA have given all of you a transition period to move into these new weightages probably by end of December 2023. I think that is what I could recollect, the transition period for you to move over. So this is where you need to change all this in your systems, because some of you would have systems that are programmed to capture these percentages. All right. And the weightages for fully research at the master level right up to the doctorate level is all quite fairly distributed, 5-3 to 50%, 30%, and 20%. All right. Now, another aspect that I would like you to remember is this. Do you realize that the boxes here, or the cells under portfolio for T3, T4, there is a diagonal line here. The diagonal line here means the students would need to submit a portfolio, but the portfolio would not be assessed as one of the instruments for admission into the relevant qualification. You have to make sure that they submit, because remember, at the end of the day, APEL.A is all about prior experiential learning. So the only document that would capture the prior experiential learning is definitely the portfolio, nowhere else, especially for qualifications that are accessed 100% through aptitude tests. So this is why we urge all of you to comply to this particular ruling, where even they are not assessed through portfolio, they have to submit the portfolio as part of the documentary evidence. Okay, the APEL.A and APEL.M certification process. Now, in the certification process, of course, it covers many areas, from the appointment of the relevant subject matter experts or the experts managing the whether it is advising the candidates right up to the assessing of the candidates. There will be an expectation of who you should appoint. So that is under panel of experts. And pre-application process, this is where you look at the self-assessment. Now, please be mindful that the self-assessment here is not the self-assessment that you see in APEL-C or APEL-Q. This self-assessment is actually fairly simple, where you look at the minimum age requirement, where you look at the prior experiential learning, the related prior experiential learning, where you look at fulfillment of the formal qualification only for a certain level of MQF. For example, master, you need at least a diploma or equivalent. Doctorate, you need bachelor degree phase, the self-assessment that the individual, if I'm Andy, who is going to apply for admission into your university, this is where I would look at the self-assessment myself through the two lens that I mentioned to you. And of course, in the certification process, MQA will always ask, what is the QA process and procedures in managing the application? Okay, in managing the application, of course, you've got to impose a certain quantum of fees. And I need to remind some of you who were not in the earlier batches of the APEL Assessment Center. The application fees, whether it is at the certificate, diploma, up to the doctorate level, the quantum of the fees is controlled by MQA. The quantum of the fees is controlled by MQA. So please make it a point to check with MQA how much fees that I'm allowed to impose. And I believe MQA has also reviewed the fees that were earlier approved in 2011. Right now, they have allowed an increase of certain quantum in the existing fees. So please check with MQA on that. And in the certification process, assessment plays a very critical role, because that safeguards the whole quality assurance aspect of APEL.A and APEL.M. And the same rigor would apply to the way conventional learner is being assessed for admission or whatever the assessment instruments may be intended for. All right. And of course, post-assessment here, there are a couple of activities that we look at, whether we allow people to appeal for the results, whether we allow people to resit, how many times are they allowed to resit, and is there a way that the institution communicates these results formally to learners who have registered for the APEL-A, who have sat for the APEL-A assessment. So these will fall under the post-assessment. And of course, post-assessment also covers the monitoring and review exercise. So just for info of fellow colleagues out there, this is actually the standard passport that is actually issued for anyone who have passed APEL-A. And this is the prescribed format for the APEL.M certificate. Now, I would like to draw your attention again. Do you realize that in the APEL.M certificate, it would state the centers that the particular institutions have actually set for that APEL.M assessment. And why is this so? Because, for example, if Andy Liu has collected micro-credentials from institution A and collected micro-credentials from institution B, then the assessment center, the Pusat Penilaian APEL, have to work very closely with the micro-credential centers to get the relevant information to assess the portfolio. And this is the reason why we mentioned the Pusat Penilaian APEL here in the certification. And like in any other APEL-A certificate, they would indicate the tahap, the level of the qualification. And in this certificate, apart from mentioning the broad discipline of the program, it will also indicate the university that Andy Liu intends to complete the degree program, which means when I sit for the APEL.M certification assessment process, I would have fixed my mind as to which institution I intend to continue my further studies. And this is why you have the university information, name of the university indicated in the certificate. So if you ask me, Andy, if I got the certificate to study in University A, can I use this certificate to study in University B? The answer is no. All right, you have to get another certification in order for you to continue your further studies in University B. The reason is the micro-credentials sometimes may not be related to the program of studies that you are going to. So this is where they need to do a separate assessment, because in the assessment of APEL.M, they will look at what you have gone through in the unbundling of the micro-credentials, not so much on the individual content, but the broad areas of that micro-credential. I hope at least for now, those of you who are new in this APEL.M, you will realize there are distinct differences between the A and the M certificate issued by MQA. Now, the application fees for local and international, as well as assessment, as I mentioned to you just now, you got to refer to MQA because the fees have now been reviewed. And previously, like for example, if it's bachelor degree, it's 250. Then if it's a master degree level, it's 370, and you have different quantum of fees for local as well as international students. The international students application fees, if I recollect well, it is imposed on the students in USD currency, all right, not Ringgit Malaysian. And quality assurance, as you know, is a pervasive entity that cuts across every spectrum of processes here. And of course, in the GGP, you will look at what are the roles of MQA in relation to APEL.A, APEL.M, what are the roles of the HGPs. All these are clearly demarcated, meaning what is it that HGP must do before they can implement APEL.M. So please read up this particular chapter in the GGP. Now, the documents of application here. This is actually for the information of the higher education providers. If you want to apply for the APEL.M or APEL.A, what is it that will be required of the institution? And when you submit those documentation to MQA, what would be the focus areas that the assessor would be tasked to evaluate, to look on? So this is what we will be sharing. And the fees and charges that will be imposed by MQA for any application submitted to them. All right, this is not the application fees of the learners or the candidates, but the application fees of the institution to MQA. And this is the application form. My apologies if this is too small, but rest assured, this form is also in the GGP guidelines. So basically, there are three main parts to the form. One is on the general information of the institution, just like how you completed the MQA 01, 02, or 04 forms. They are quite similar in nature. Then part B is the detailed information on the assessment center that you intend to become. So this one will look at how you manage the APEL center in your institution, how you manage the application of APEL, how do you appoint a panel of experts, and what are the facilities, whether it is infrastructure that are available in the institution to support your application to become an APEL assessment center. And lastly, it is always the case that we want the head of institution to say, I endorse this application, I approve, or I submit this application to MQA. So this is basically in the form. Now, my apologies because this is quite worthy, but in a nutshell, what the assessors will look at, instead of us running through every 9 points here, of course, there are 20 points. There are about 20 points that assessor will zoom in when they evaluate the application by higher education institution to implement APEL.A and APEL.M. There are 20 of that. I mean, in a nutshell, is that they want to see whether what is the commitment level of the institution in driving APEL.A and M in the institution. What is the commitment of the institution? Commitment here would range from adopting the policy, approving the policies related to A, related to M, the human resources that are allocated, the financial resources that are allocated, the infrastructure resources that are allocated to support the APEL assessment center that will be established in the institution. So that would be the first overarching area where they look at commitment of the institution in supporting the implementation of APEL.A and APEL.M. And of course, the second part here, they want to see whether the institution has put in place a very rigorous QA processes in managing the APEL.A and APEL.M. And of course, when you talk about managing, it covers the students, it covers the internal stakeholders, the staff, and the committees involved. So the processes itself here should actually look at the application phase, what are the processes that you have put in place, the assessment phase, what are the processes, for example, appointment of the advisor, assessor, moderator, how is that done, the training of these people, how frequently it is done, how frequently it is conducted, the setting or development of the assessment instruments, what are the QA measures that are embedded to ensure the principles of assessments are adhered to. Like for example, you will always be informed that we will always look at two principles of assessment, the validity and reliability. So how is that two assessment principles upheld in managing the APEL.A implementation or APEL.M implementation? Of course, the other end of this management would be who are the approving bodies, the committees, whether it is Senate, whether it is academic board, is there an appeal mechanism, is there a receipt, appeal, how many times can they receipt, as I mentioned. So that would be the processing or implementation part they're looking at. And of course, the final part is that they want to see how does the institution integrate this APEL.A and APEL.M into the overarching QA framework of the university? Meaning, how do you do the monitoring and review? How regular it is? Who are the stakeholders that you meet? Feedback that you have gotten, analysis, action plans. These are the areas they're looking at. So basically, in this 1, 2, 3 slides that you are seeing here, I repeat, 1 for MQA assessor, 2 slide, the second slide related to MQA assessor focus, and 3. All these 3 slides actually cover the 3 major areas that I mentioned. All right, I allow me to repeat. Number 1 is a commitment of the institution. Number 2 is the process of managing it. And number 3, the last part here is how is this embedded or integrated into the QA framework of the institution. So these are actually the focus when they evaluate your submission to MQA. And of course, rest assured, everything that I mentioned here just now, that I shared just now, are actually information that you have to provide in the various areas of the form, in the various items in the form. All right. Now, these fees and additional charges are meant for the institutions. These are not fees for candidates. So if you look at this, the middle column here, or rather the third column in here, if you see where I'm moving my cursor, this is the new package baru. You remember earlier on, MQA restrict you by saying when you take 3, you must take 4. When you take 5, you must take 6, something like that, right? Now they have opened up to allow you to do a mix and match combination. You can choose to have 3 and 6. And when you choose this, you have to pay 30,000 for the application fees. Okay, so if I want to have 3 at least 3 levels from here, it is 60,000. So if you realize at this point of time, the charges imposed would be based on a minimum of 1. The minimum of 1 is still 30,000. 2 is still 30,000. And of course, every one would go for 2. I don't think none would actually willing to depart 30,000 for 1 level. Very rare. Okay. Then on the T6, or rather this one, apologies, this one should be T7, all right? The degree level here. So the package permohonan for T7 for a master level here, master degree level, it is the coursework and mixed mode. And the other one is what they call the penyelidikan research base. So when you take, it is a total package. They don't say you can take coursework only and you forget about research base. No. When you apply for the entire master degree level package. The same applies to TA. When you apply for the complete level. That means covering the coursework base, mixed mode, as well as the research base. Okay. Now, here, as you see on the furthest right column, is actually to cater for the existing assessment centers who have been given approval. That means if you're given approval to do a master degree at a T7, not inclusive of master, how much do you pay? And this is where you will realize that if you want to add on the track for fully research-based at the master degree level, you have to pay 15,000 per application. Unlike the fresh application here, they have to pay 30. So this is to cater for those who have yet been given the approval to take on the additional level. All right. So I hope this is clear. And at the bottom of this particular table, you will see the fees imposed for the application of APEL.M. It is a standard 30K. And the next question probably that would come to your mind is, what is the duration of this approval period? Is it going to be perpetual, or is this going to be within a stipulated time frame? The answer, as I remember, is 5 years, unless MQA has changed, and probably we need MQA to come forward and provide clarity later on. All right, so with that, I hope I have not flooded your memory bank with too much information. If I do, my apologies, and I hope in between you may have recorded some questions on your own laptop or scrap paper that you have, or even at the chat function. We now open this session to Q&A. If you would like to speak, you may raise your hands, and Puan Awani would give you the access rights to unmute your mic.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Andy, for all the information given to the session today. Now, berdasarkan sini kita ada beberapa yang attendee yang raise the hand. Saya akan buka untuk laluan mereka, Prof.
Ya.
Okay, kita persilakan Encik Rosli Abdul Rahman.
Dari, if you can, colleagues, when you come on the screen, kindly introduce yourself, from which institution you are from. your name and your institution, please.
Silakan Tuan.
Puan Awani, maybe we try another one.
Yeah, we have Puan Irianti. Silakan Puan.
Siapa? Saya ke?
Ya Puan, silakan Puan.
Okey, saya Irianti dari Open University Malaysia. Ada dua soalan kepada Prof. Andy.
Ya, Puan.
Hi Prof. Okey. Yang pertama berkenaan dengan penilaian 7A tu untuk master, bila kita kena mulakan penilaian yang baru, yang 40-40-20 tu.
Okey, yang itu kalau ikut apa yang saya dimaklumkan, dia kena mula if dah ada dilaksanakan ikut weightages yang terdahulu, dia kena mula 1st January 2024 selewat-lewatnya.
Selewat-lewatnya, makna kalau kami ada permohonan dah sedang ada sekarang ni, masih
guna yang lama,
masih guna yang lama ya.
Sebab setahu saya tempoh transisi adalah sehingga 31 Disember 2023.
Okey. Yang soalan kedua berkenaan dengan micro credential, tadi saya macam kurang faham sikit. Sekiranya OUM sebagai PPA kepada APEL.M, kami boleh evaluate mana-mana calon. Adakah kami boleh evaluate mana-mana calon untuk menggunakan cert MC tersebut untuk digunakan admission untuk universiti lain yang bukan PPA?
Boleh. Tetapi terlebih dahulu OUM kena mohon untuk melaksanakan APEL.M.
Okey. Proses permohonan adakah sama seperti yang tadi yang Dr. Prof terangkan?
Betul. Lebih kurang sama.
Okey.
Boleh berhubung dengan bahagian rujukan dan jaminan kualiti. I rasa mereka boleh bantu dalam aspek ini, Puan.
Okey. Yang kata sijil tu kalau nak tukar kepada universiti lain tu, adakah calon akan balik kepada OUM untuk tukarkan kepada universiti yang lain?
Kalau dia nak pergi ke universiti lain, maksudnya OUM akan menghubungi universiti tersebut berkenaan dengan micro credential tu.
Oh, okey. Okey, rasanya itu saja buat kali ini dah. Nanti apa-apa saya akan tanya balik Prof ya. Okay, terima kasih Prof.
The reason Puan, the reason kamu menghubungi universiti tersebut sebab contohnya Andy Liu telah buat micro credential kat Taylor's. Okey, contohnya Andy Liu telah buat micro credential kat Taylor's dan Andy Liu sekarang nak masuk ke program di Taylor's.
Yes.
Tetapi Taylor's bukan pusat penilaian APEL buat masa ni. Contohnya,
betul.
saya datang ke OUM.
Yes.
Tetapi lain kali kalau saya kata, saya sebenarnya nak tukar, saya tak nak ke Taylor's. Saya nak ke Universiti Irianti contohnya, universiti yang dipanggil Irianti. So, OUM sekarang kena menghubungi Irianti University untuk micro credential yang saya telah jalankan di Irianti University.
Okey, dari segi bayaran belum ada lagi kan berkenaan APEL.M ni kan permohonan
saya rasa dah ada untuk calon. Saya rasa ada. Perlu Puan Irianti berhubung dengan MQA.
Okey. Tak apa. Untuk pertanyaan tu jelah.
Baik.
Okey, terima kasih Prof.
Terima kasih Puan.
Tak nampak wajah.
Itulah tak keluar.
Okey, terima kasih Puan Irianti. Okey, boleh kita teruskan dengan another question. Saya jemput Mr. Song Fu Tung seterusnya. Mr. Teruskan.
Yes, Mr. here.
Sorry. Ya, silakan sir.
It's okay,
Please, sir.
don't worry. Okay, soalan saya I dah letak dalam chat.
Yes, sir.
box.
Your question, please, from.
Prof. Andy, you were saying that there's a transition period for PPA to adopt the
Right.
new assessment, right, until
Right.
31st of December. Because Taylor's just received the approval and we have not started any assessment for the APEL.A candidate yet. So can
Oh,
we adopt the new one straight away so that we don't confuse our...
Yes. I think my advice, Futong, would be immediately get the new weightages.
Yeah, that will be
Otherwise,
better.
imagine you have to change your system later on.
Yes. Okay, that will be good. And another thing that I hear from Prof. Andy is that now we are allowed to take in international students. However, in MQA website, still not showing that. So I assume MQA will be updating the website accordingly, right?
When you say it's not showing, is it in the
International.
APEL portal?
Oh no, I think it's in their main page, the FAQ or something like that. It still show Malaysian only.
All right. I think we take note. Thank you so much for the feedback.
Yeah. Thank you
Any
so much
more
for the
questions?
feedback.
And congratulations for the approval to
thanks.
become one of the centers again.
Oh yeah, one more thing. Since MQS staff is here, I'm so sorry to ask so many questions.
No worries.
PPA dalaman list of university, our name is still not there yet. Is it because we are getting the conditional approval, or is there any other reason? Maybe one from MQA can tell us.
Anyone from MQA can help to address this. But I personally, I doubt it's because of that Mr. Singh. I doubt, but let MQA revert, and probably we took note of those two things that are related to MQA.
Okay.
They'll get back to you directly.
Sure. Thanks.
All right. Sorry for the inconvenience.
No, don't worry. Thanks. So you can unmute mute my mic already. Thank you.
All right. Welcome. Wani, any more yang tangan dah penat?
Baik, ada. Kita pergi yang seterusnya. Sekejap ya, Prof.
Yeah, sure.
Okey, ada lagi 7. Okey, Puan Roslinda Muhammad. Ya, Puan. Assalamualaikum, Puan. Puan Roslinda? Ya, Puan. Okey, saya terus ke yang lain lah. Kita ada
Teruskan yang lain, ya.
Puan Nurliana. Puan Nurliana.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Morning, Prof.
Yeah, morning.
From Rebecca University. Prof, kami dalam proses dapatkan kelulusan untuk center APEL.A level 3-4. Kalau nak tambah yang, sebab dia dah dah buka semula package kan. Kalau nak tambah untuk level 7 ataupun level 8, just bayar 15K ke ataupun macam mana?
Oh, ini memang hadiah. Ini soalan cepuk emas kena tanya MQA pun.
Okey, baik. Okey. Anyone of my cakes? Untuk surat keliling berkenaan dengan fee ni, kita dah keluarkan dalam website. Untuk APEL.A tahap 7, 15K. Dan juga untuk tahap 8, 30K lah. Ini untuk kita open untuk PPA sedia ada. Dan dia ada time frame lah untuk applicable fee ni yang kita tawarkan, kita kira sebagai tambahan untuk tahap sedia ada.
So boleh rujuk pada surat keliling kita dalam website.
Okey. Yang kedua, tentang yang micro C tadi kan. Kalau ikut APEL.M, dia maksimum 50% daripada
Minimum.
unbundle.
Minimum.
Minimum ke maksimum?
Minimum.
Okey,
Minimum.
sebab dekat dalam chat Q&A ni ada tulis maksimum.
Oh.
So tak ada masalah lah. Maksudnya kalau dia ambil kira dah reach 80% of the courses in the program tu, so tak ada issue lah. As long as dia meet minimum and minimum
Pun boleh.
lagi satu kalau kata
Tapi Puan Nuniana, izinkan saya bagi pencerahan sedikit. Yang 50% tu minimum tu, kita kena rujuk juga kepada GGP micro credential, sebab micro credential ni boleh merupakan micro credential daripada single institution, from one institution or from multiple institutions, right? So kalau dia multiple institutions, contohnya budak itu nak ke universiti yang dipanggil ND University, contohnya ND University ya.
Okay.
ND University, budak itu nak masuk ke universiti saya tapi tak pernah ambil sebarang micro credential dari universiti saya, tapi menggunakan micro credential daripada universiti lain nak masuk universiti yang dipanggil ND. Dalam GGP micro credential dia kata kalau nak masuk universiti yang akan anugerahkan kelayakan qualification tersebut, he or she must complete at least 30% of the internal total credits.
Okay, yes.
Ini penting, ini kena ingat yang ini.
Okay, understood. So
Yeah,
kalau in single HCP, okay lah.
Single HCP contohnya Puan Nulana dari institusi mana?
DRB Highcom University.
Okay, DRB Highcom, sorry, I didn't get that just now. So if I've taken, let's say, 100% from DRB Highcom using micro credential, and now I intend to exit with the award in DRB Highcom, that one is allowed. That means I can go up to 100%.
Okay.
Because the award of the degree later on when I exit is from DRB Highcom.
Okay, last question. Sorry, banyak soalan.
No worries.
Okay, untuk yang sebab APEL.M ni kan baru lagi kan, so macam ada confusing sikit lah. Kalau APEL.M ni kita apply as a PPA for APEL.M, so kita boleh access any level ke?
Yes.
Okay, alright. So maksudnya daripada level 3 sampai level 8?
Ya, untuk calon-calon luar.
Calon-calon luar.
Dan
Dan
calon-calon dalaman juga.
Okay.
Ya.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Ya, sama.
Thank you, MKA.
Thank you. Okay, boleh kita teruskan Prof. Seterusnya kita ada daripada Tuan Azizul, silakan.
Hello, boleh dengar ke?
Hai, Cik Azizul.
Okay, hello Prof. Andy.
Ya,
Saya
dengar.
Saya ada tanyalah dalam Q&A, tapi saya nampak dah dibetulkan oleh Puan Alwani. Soalan saya, apakah yang saya faham yang 50% tu minimum kan?
Betul.
Jadi maksimum ada maksimum?
Maksimum yang saya kata tadi, kalau dia nak masuk ke institusi dan exit di institusi yang berkenaan, dia boleh buat maksimum 100% MC.
Oh, okay. The same institution.
Same institution. Tapi kalau saya pungut MC daripada institusi lain, tapi contohnya nak exit di institusi Azizo, kurang-kurangnya 30% kena datang daripada Azizo.
Oh, kalau 100%?
Kalau
30%
saya nak exit dengan award dari Azizo, saya kena at least ada 30% punya MC daripada Azizo.
Oh, okay, 30%.
Kalau pelajar tersebut nak exit guna 100% punya model of the MC,
semua daripada
30%
kami.
30%.
Okay. Kalau campur, then mesti 30% at least from our own institution.
From the institution yang nak award
Nak
that
award,
qualification.
70% can be from other.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay. Clear. Thank you, Prof. Right.
Sama.
Okey, terima kasih. Seterusnya Prof, kita ada daripada Associate Professor T.S. Au Yok Ching.
Selamat pagi,
Selamat
Prof.
pagi.
Andy dan juga Puan Awani.
Hai, okay.
Tahniah juga Prof. Andy atas pelantikan sebagai Naib Chancellor baru HEP University.
Oh, thank you so much.
Ya, okay. Ni ada soalan yang saya dah post ke chat tu pasal APEL.A untuk tahap 8 doctorate untuk mode research base. Adakah dia telah pun berkuat kuasa ataupun masih ada lagi tempoh transisi untuk ianya dikuat kuasakan? Itu saja. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Au. Perhaps I will respond before MQA. In my personal opinion, as I remember correctly, when they launched it in January, they have actually indicated there is this implementation date profile. I think berkuat kuasa mulai 1st March. So which means if you are granted the permission to do T8, you can actually start off the recruitment exercise using APEL.A T8.
Okay, sebab ada satu cabaran di sini. Saya masih lagi tak semak lah sebab dia kena daftar online kan, Prof.
Yes,
untuk
correct.
dinilai sebagai calon APEL.A lah.
Right.
Tapi dalam pendaftaran tu macam tak nampak ada tahap 8 untuk research mode. Mungkin kita kena bantuan di situ lah. Sebab pada
Prof, I think
tanggapan
they work with MQA. Correct.
Okay, terima kasih.
No worries. Alright.
Okey, terima kasih Prof. Au Yok Ching. Okey, seterusnya kita ada Mr. BP Chandra. Dipersilakan. Mr. BP Chandra? Ataupun saya, okey, silakan. Silakan Tuan. Ataupun Prof, kita sementara tu kita cuba yang lain, Prof.
Ya, baik. Cuba yang lain.
Okey, kita ada Dr. Ghazali daripada UUM.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Prof. And apa ni
Wani tak dengar Wani ya.
Ya, saya pun kejap saya masukkan balik. Kita keluar rasanya. Okey, ataupun kita Mr. Bipin ada ke? Okey. Ya. Okey Prof, boleh saya teruskan dengan yang lain?
Teruskan dengan yang lain. Kemudian
Okey.
bila Encik Ghazali masuk, kita teruskan.
Okey, saya teruskan dengan Miss Sophia Wong.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good morning, Prof. Andy.
Hi, Sophia.
I'm from UCSI. We currently do not have the kelulusan to do APEL.A, but let's say that a candidate actually gain entry into another university's conventional program via APEL.A and then decides to transfer. Maybe they have done like maybe 4 or 5 credits from that university and then wants to transfer to our university. Can we also take them in like a normal credit transfer case? And because the candidate may not actually fulfill our conventional entry requirement, but has already entered into a conventional program in another institution via APEL.A.
Okay, Sophia, I think there are two things that you need to look at. Number one, if the person has actually admitted to the program in another institution using APEL-A, which means the person has a legitimate APEL-A passport, right?
Yes.
And the APEL-A passport, as we understand, allows people to enter into any institution of higher learning as long as it is at the relevant qualification level. So in terms of admission, the person can still use the APEL-A certification that he or she has obtained to enter UCSI. Number one.
Okay, so even though we don't have the kelulusan to do that kind of
Yes,
stuff.
yes, because that passport itself would be the rights to access higher education.
Okay. All right. So although we do not have the rights to assess students into our
Yes,
program,
yes, correct.
but we
Yeah.
can accept if another institution has done that.
Yes, and this has been the practice of many institutions because in the early days when there were only 2 or 3 PPA, so many of them, they went over to this limited numbers of PPA to be assessed, and from there they got hold of the APEL-A certificate and they go all over the 400 over institutions in Malaysia.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
How are you, Sophia?
We're okay. We're doing. We are trying to get our APEL.
Great.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Yeah,
Thank
catch
you.
up with you one day. Bye.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Thank you, Miss Sophia. Okay, sekarang kita teruskan dengan Miss Dash Laksmaya.
Hi, Andy. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ashmaya.
Okay, Diva here. So, just want to know the 50%. Hello?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
Diva.
The 50% that you mentioned just now, yeah. Does this also apply to our franchise partners?
Okay, when you say franchise partners, I'm assuming this franchisee would actually be doing your micro-credentials.
Yes, they will.
Then the answer is yes.
It's the same same criteria, yeah?
Same criteria.
Franchise partners will be everything that applies to the actual university will apply to the franchise partner as well.
I was referring to the micro-credentials.
Yes, micro-credentials, correct. That's
but
right.
as to whether the rights to administer the APEL.M certification.
No, that will remain with the university itself.
Yes, that will remain with the franchisor. You as a franchisor, you will still do it.
Because the quality and everything has to come from within. Yeah, okay. And the other question, well, it's a follow-up actually. When you consider the APEL-A, the way that some universities had, I believe the way OUM was saying that they can apply for PPA to also accredit for other universities' programs, right? So in the case of APEL-M, can anyone apply for that? Because I do remember that APEL-A, the status was given to a few. So is that going to be the same situation for APEL-M?
Okay, for the APEL.A, as we remember, there is this circular on 2 types of pusat penilaian, right, Diba? The pusat penilaian terbuka and pusat penilaian dalaman. So on the APEL.M, I believe there will also be similar circular. Perhaps MQA can share that with us.
Yeah,
not now.
that would be good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to it and good luck for tomorrow.
Thank
Congratulations. Thanks so much, Andy. Bye-bye.
Welcome, Diba.
Terima kasih. Okay, Prof boleh kita teruskan? Ada 3 orang lagi. Okay, Miss Melissa.
Yes.
The screen is yours.
Yes. Okay, Prof Andy, this is Melissa from UOW Malaysia, KDU Penang University College.
Hi, Melissa.
Yes. Okay, Prof Andy, okay, our institution is the APEL-C Center. So I just need some clarifications and confirmation. So let's say if we have a candidate actually has fulfilled all those entry requirements, for example, like diploma want to enter into degree. So we know that can evaluate based on the normal credit transfer policy lah. But what if this candidate actually before that maybe he had attended some of these micro credential courses in other institutions. So but because we are only the APEL-C center, so meaning to say that, right, if this candidate he would like to apply for credit transfer for all those micro credential courses that he had attended, so meaning to say that we as an APEL-C center, we will just use this APEL-C policy to actually assess this candidate up to a maximum 60% of credit transfer. Is that correct?
Melissa, right?
Yes.
Melissa, I think there are two things here. Again, it's always two things. I don't know why. Number one, I presume that the candidates that were admitted has fulfilled the entry requirements, right?
Yes.
Whether it is through APEL or whether it is through the conventional entry mode. Okay. So when these 10 candidates are already in your system, they may come with prior experiential learning, whether it is the non-formal, informal, where you allow the candidates to be awarded credit transfer through APEL-C. All right, and that one is only up to maximum 30%, Lisa, APEL-C. Your 60%, okay. I think when you mention 60%, perhaps you are trying to cluster the formal credit transfer 30%. Remember the formal credit transfer, for example?
Yeah. 30 plus 30, yes.
Yes, 30 plus 30. But right now, the formal credit transfer, if you also recollect, you can go up to 50% if the person has a grade B, at least a grade B.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So it's actually 50 plus 30, 80.
Yeah. So because I would like to clarify that because we are APEL-C center, so let's say this candidate, they actually have micro credentials, so we can actually assess so that we can grant him the credit transfer, but we have to use our APEL-C assessment method.
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Your micro credential actually is under the non-formal learning assessment.
Correct. Because we are not this APEL-M.
No worries. M is actually for admission, but this one, because when you grant credit transfer into the course, you are actually mapping against the CLOs. Remember?
Correct. Yeah.
So there's no harm. You're absolutely on the right track.
Thank you so much, Prof. Andy. Okay.
You're welcome.
Terima kasih Puan Melissa. Okey Prof, kita teruskan ada daripada Aziati Atirah. Puan Aziati Atirah. Puan? Ada ke? Tak ada? Okey. Okey Prof, boleh saya majukan soalan daripada ruangan Q&A?
Boleh.
Adakah pelajar yang pernah menyambung pengajian tetapi separuh jalan, khusus yang telah diambil dan lulus, boleh ditukar menjadi MC dan memohon untuk progres melalui APEL-M, dibenarkan atau tidak?
Saya kurang jelas, Wani, boleh tolong?
Okey. Sekali lagi, adakah pelajar yang pernah menyambung pengajian tetapi separuh jalan, khususnya diambil? Dia dah further tapi dia halfway dan lulus. Boleh ditukar menjadi MC dan mohon untuk melalui APEL-M. Maksudnya dia dah masuk kursus tu mungkin halfway. Dia dah lulus semua tapi dia nak divert kepada APEL-M. Adakah dibenarkan?
Mungkin I think kita perlu pencerahan daripada siapa yang ajukan soalan tersebut. Yang pertama kita kena ingat yang APEL.M ini sebenarnya adalah untuk menilai kelayakan kemasukan ke dalam sesebuah program. So bererti walaupun dia dah separuh jalan, dia dah ada dalam program tersebut kan. So pada pandangan saya dia tak perlu lagi melalui APEL.M. Kalau dia nak ke institusi lain, mungkin dia akan lihat sama ada dia nak program yang mungkin pada peringkat lebih tinggi tetapi tidak memenuhi kemasukan tu, dia boleh guna APEL.A atau APEL.M pada masa tersebut.
Okey, harap jelas. Okey, Prof, kita almost hampir ke pukul 12 tapi kita ada lagi seorang. Boleh kita entertain Prof yang dia dah raise up hand untuk kita allow untuk majukan soalan Prof.
Boleh.
Okey, dipersilakan Mr. Fairuz, Encik Fairuz
Good
Puan,
morning.
maafkan saya. Okay, silakan Puan.
Hello, Dr. Andy.
Hi.
My name is Fairuz. I'm from University of Malaysia, Kelantan. We are in the process of trying to establish an APEL Center at our university. So everything is quite new for me. So I just wanted to ask you in terms of the aptitude test, okay? In terms of preparing the questions for the aptitude test, does MQA or do you have any suggestions, or do you have any a list of experts that we can refer to or help us with preparing the questions for the aptitude test in terms of...
Yes, Fairuz. I think if MQA does provide training on potential institutions that aspire to become assessment center.
Okay.
And the training encompasses two broad areas. One is on how to manage the overall APEL assessment. The other one is the development of the questions.
The questions.
So you may contact MQA bahagian unit latihan, MQA TC, MQA Training Center.
I see, okay.
So they will be able to send trainers over to UMK to address this concern of yours.
I see. So they'll be coming to us to assist us with the questions in terms of the
Yes, you pay the trainers, and the trainers will conduct a training session on the development of the questions.
I see. So I'll just get in touch with the people in
Yes, Fairuz. Yes.
Okay. Thank you
so
very much.
your beban on your mind sekarang dah di-release.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prof. Andy.
Welcome, Fairuz.
Terima kasih Puan. Prof, boleh kita entertain seorang lagi Prof?
Yes,
Puan,
please.
Azmi daripada IUMW. Silakan.
Terima kasih. Sebelum saya tanya soalan, boleh saya tahu sama ada soalan-soalan di Q&A akan di-address? Sebab actually I have quite a number of questions. So that's why last minute baru saya angkat tangan.
Ya, sebab soalan di Q&A juga kita akan address sebab kita ada 47 total yang masih bertanya. Jadi kita akan, walaupun mungkin session ni kita dah habis sebentar lagi, kita tetap akan addresskan untuk Q&A dah. Kita akan jawab. Tapi jika tidak berkesempatan untuk menjawab, tuan boleh teruslah hubungi kami di bahagian standard ataupun bahagian koordinasi jaminan kualiti untuk majukan soalan lah. Tapi kita akan cuba untuk menjawab tuan
Okay. Soalan saya yang pertama untuk saya nak clarify balik. Okay, for APEL.M, practically does it mean that let's say we take applicant to PhD program, for example, does it mean that formal qualification, relevant work experience, and APEL.A assessment which apply to APEL.A would not apply for APEL.M applicant? That's one. Do I proceed with the other question?
Okay. Just if that is the case, can I just address your question, Tuan? The first question just now tadi kan, you remember when we show the table that shows the distribution of the assessment in APEL.M, the only mechanism or instrument that is used to evaluate is a portfolio. Is only the portfolio, no aptitude test, no interview, dan sebagainya. But of course, the other conditions that would tag along is that whoever that is applying for entry melalui APEL.M they have to meet the relevant minimum age stipulated in APEL.A.
For PhD applicant, for example.
Yes. So PhD applicant, if you go back to the policy of the PhD applicant, they say
The
you
rest of
must
the
be
requirement does not apply lah. Only according to the, because APEL.M requirement doesn't go by level, right?
So in APEL, no, APEL.M requirement also goes by level. The one that doesn't go by level is the institution able to do APEL.M for any level when you apply for the 30,000.
Okay.
So it's a different thing. The assessment part is different, yeah.
Okay. And then for both APEL.A and APEL.M, the certificate or the assessment goes according to specific discipline or field. Am I right?
Yes.
So how do you categorize the field? Is it according to NEC or
NEC. The broad discipline.
Since it is already specific to the discipline, would the additional requirements in the program standard apply? For example, let's say to go into computing or accounting, we still need to look at SPM mathematics. So would that requirement still apply since APEL itself is specific to the field?
Okay, that question, because I do not know what is the current development right now. Previously, they were admitted, I remember, but I don't know the current development of the program standards purview. Puan Awani can bahagian standard help in this question just to make sure we are in line with the policies of MQA.
Okay, boleh saya cuba fahamkan sekali lagi dia punya senario dia macam mana?
Senarionya, contohnya program standard kata dia kena ada SPM, BM credit.
Betul.
Contoh ya, BM credit. Tetapi bila dia masuk melalui APEL.A, dia langsung tak ada SPM.
Betul.
Tapi dia lulus APEL.A. Perlu tak APEL.A student masih perlu memenuhi the SPM, BM credit? Tak perlu kan, sebab dia tak ada cara untuk memenuhi.
Pasal kita refer dia punya experience.
Pengalaman kerja. Kita refer pada pengalaman.
So tak ada lah ya, Encik KB tak ada kan?
Tak ada, pasal kita base kepada experience dia tu kan. Kalau nak masuk, contoh degree 21 tahun dan mempunyai pengalaman yang berkaitan. So pengalaman tu yang akan menggantikan keperluan requirement untuk subjek matematik atau sebagainya.
Okay,
sebab dia memang tak ambil, dia tak ambil SPM, so tak mungkin kita nak syarat.
Ya, tak mungkin, betul. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. And the other question is, I'm sorry, I'm falling behind on this, but do we need APEL.C for credit transfer from macro credential?
Yeah, APEL.C, remember in APEL.C, it actually looks at informal and non-formal learning. So your micro credential is actually under the cluster of non-formal learning. Boleh.
So technically, do we need APEL.C prior to APEL.M?
No. Yes, because APEL.M is not credit transfer into the program.
So meaning the 50% does not go into credit transfer?
No. The 50% here is actually a yardstick for me to be eligible to apply for APEL.M. Then the credit transfer is handled separately under the credit transfer policy of the institution. As I remember, the credit transfer policy in the institution is very clear-cut. You must have 80% content mapping. If let's say whatever micro-credential the person has taken is mirroring whatever courses that you're taking 80% with the same credit, then you can do a credit transfer there.
Don't you think it is a bit of irony there, because we require them to pass 50%, but the 50% doesn't add up into the work done for their completion?
Okay, I give you a scenario here. Perhaps maybe there is lack of clarity and the ambiguity arises here. If I completed 50% from IUMW, micro-credential, and these are unbundling of your courses in the program, all right, Azam?
Yeah.
Then I now go to Azam and say, I want to enter through APEL.M. So when you look at me, you say, Andy, okay, you have completed 50% of the total credits. I will admit you through APEL.M and not APEL.A. The reason is when you admit me through APEL.A, I have to do aptitude tests, example, and I have to do interview. It is at the master level. I don't want that. So you admit me through APEL.M instrument consideration. All right, number one. Number two, if these are the thing, it is a direct credit transfer. Right, Azam?
I'm sorry, I lost you at number 2.
Sorry?
I lost you at number 2 just now.
Okay. So what I'm saying is the reason why we want to ensure that is close content mapping is that we want to make sure whatever learning outcomes that we want the student to achieve in the program has been met. So if it is actually the courses from your own institution as a micro-credential, technically the process is fairly straightforward. Every courses that I take is actually a course from my institution. Then it should be granted credit transfer immediately, directly. You must understand when you assess APEL.M portfolio micro-credential, you do not go into the individual content.
So meaning
you are looking at
sorry to interrupt you, but does it mean that the 50% needs to be only related, not exactly addressing the exact cost and credits in the program?
So let's say you have done this, let's say, okay, now IUMW. Let me take UUM, yeah? I did 50% UUM course content, right? So when I did UUM course content, I do that 50% content or whatever, the achievement of the 50%. So presumably you have done the matching here from UUM. All right, so when you do the matching, you can comfortably say, yes, Andy Liu has actually done 50% of the UUM micro-credentials which coincide with your internal program. So whatever that you have done there, you can bring this into your credit transfer processes to justify all this have been done.
So in summary, APEL-C is not required for APEL-M, and APEL-M does not result in credit transfer.
Okay, in APEL-C, you remember if you do APEL-C, you have to undertake either one of the assessment instrument. Remember, Azam, whether you do a portfolio or you do a challenge test. Whatever it is, you still need to do an assessment in APEL-C. You cannot run away. You cannot say because I have micro-credential now, I don't do any assessment instrument. Tak ada macam tu kan, right?
I've never done APEL-C. I still need to study back what you mentioned just now.
Yeah. Maybe it's good that you revisit that. Then if there's anything still unclear, I think MQA will be more than happy to clear whatever ambiguity that you have.
Can you just confirm whether this conclusion is correct? APEL-C is not required for APEL-M, and APEL-M does not result in credit transfer.
Can you come again? APEL-C doesn't require APEL.M.
APEL-C is not required, meaning APEL-N can stand alone without APEL-C.
Yes, correct. Correct. They are.
And APEL-M doesn't result in grade transfer.
No, they are mutually exclusive for the first question.
Okay, last question. What determines whether the PPA qualifies as terbuka or dalaman?
Oh, terbuka here means I can assess candidates that do not intend to continue higher education in my institution. Let's say I'm PPA terbuka, yeah. My status is PPA terbuka OUM. So OUM can actually assess any candidates that eventually, after they completed their assessment, they may go to IUMW. That is PPA terbuka. PPA dalaman means I can only assess calon yang bercadang untuk melanjutkan pengajiannya di institusi saya. That means they cannot go elsewhere after the assessment. They stay with the institution. That is PPA dalaman.
So does it solely rely on what the PPA would like to do, meaning depending on their application alone, or is there different requirement or different criteria?
Oh, different requirement. MQA has a set of requirements. If you want to become PPA terbuka, you must have this criteria. If you want to become PPA dalaman, you have to have this set of criteria. And as I remember, if you want to become a PPA terbuka, you have to get the jemputan from MQA.
Okay.
Huh.
I don't suppose for dalaman we can open to our sisters companies or sisters universities.
No, I don't think so, because the dalaman tagged to the registration of the institution. Unless your sister is actually a satellite campus or branch camp, or not a branch campus, a campus at a different premise.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Terima kasih Tuan. Prof, last seorang lagi Prof, boleh seorang
Ya, ya.
Okay, kita ada Puan Anis Liana daripada Uni Razak. Silakan Puan. Puan Anis Liana.
Maaf Puan, saya tertekan resend tadi, tak ada soalan.
Ya kan ada soalan. Okey.
Ya, lengur tangan dah kan.
Okey, jadi Prof, alhamdulillah kita dah jawab semua soalan yang di-raise hand kan, dan dimaklumkan ada lagi a bundle of question dalam Q&A, kita akan cuba jawab. Tetapi jika soalan Tuan Puan mungkin tidak sampai jawapannya kepada Tuan Puan, bolehlah bertemu dengan pegawai daripada bahagian BKRJK ataupun daripada bahagian standard untuk mendapatkan jawapan, dan ataupun boleh datang juga bertemu semasa hari mesra pelanggan. Jadi Prof, jika tiada apa-apa, maybe kita boleh end up the session before I close the today webinar. Maybe any last word from you, Prof?
No. I just wish every one of you the very best, and definitely this is going to be an exciting journey. And we hope to see you have the whole big family of APEL, not only A and M. I'm sure many of the institutions now are looking at gathering this big family under your umbrella.
Yeah.
All right. All the best to you, colleagues, and thank you so much for your patience. Almost 300 plus right now. Some may have left because of commitment for other meetings.
Okay, jadi sebelum saya akhiri sesi hari ini, saya suka untuk saya maklumkan kepada semua yang hadir. Tadi kita dah sampai 506, lepas tu ada yang tak boleh masuk, kita juga dah ditayangkan di YouTube MQA. Boleh dapatkan juga rakaman daripada di laman web YouTube MQA page. Okay, jadi sebelum saya undurkan diri, saya ingin mengambil kesempatan sekali lagi untuk mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada semua pihak yang terlibat terlibat pada hari ini dalam sesi webinar berkenaan dengan GGP APEL-A dan APEL-M. Nampak the excitement of setiap individu terlibat dalam pelaksanaan ini. Jadi saya juga ingin mengambil peluang untuk mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada Prof. Andy, walaupun sibuk tetapi tetap meluangkan masa. Terima kasih Prof. Andy and team. Saya pasti tim panel kajian pembangunan semula APEL juga ada dalam ni. Terima kasih semua. Dan to all my colleagues from MQA, kita ada Puan Hafizah, kita ada Puan Nini, Puan Zarina dan juga Puan saya sendiri Cik Kamaro. Terima kasih kerana involve. Jadi tadi Prof dah bagi pantun pembukaan, saya bagi pantun penutup lah Prof
Ya.
Okey, burung helang terbangnya tinggi, hinggap sebentar di pohon jati. Terima kasih saudara dan saudari. Semoga memberi tumpuan sepenuh hati. Jadi Prof, itu saja daripada kami semua. Terima kasih, kita jumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum.